Dr. Nardi here, back with another video. In our last video, we defined what crime is. Today, we're going a layer deeper to explore its origins. Why do some individuals follow a path toward criminal behavior while others don't? We'll be looking at the developmental risk and protective factors that shape a person's life trajectory, all based on Chapter 2 of Bartol and Bartol's criminal behavior. Let's get started. Our focus today is on the developmental perspective. We'll examine the complex interplay of factors, from family life and peer groups to individual psychology, that can either set a person on a course for antisocial behavior or shield them from it. The developmental perspective views every human life as a journey along a path, or what researchers call a trajectory. The key idea is that this path can be littered with what we call risk factors, obstacles that increase the likelihood of someone turning to crime. But the path also contains protective factors that can help a person navigate these risks successfully. So let's start with the positive side, protective factors. These are personal characteristics or experiences that shield children and adolescents from the influence of risk. Think of them as a safety net. Examples are exactly what you might expect: having warm and caring parents, or access to a high-quality educational experience. A nurturing and healthy environment minimizes the toxic conditions, both biological and social, that can negatively influence a child's development. Now, for the other side of the coin, risk factors. These are experiences or characteristics that are statistically more likely to be found in the backgrounds of offenders. They increase the probability that someone will engage in persistent criminal behavior. However, and this is a critical point, it's almost never a single risk factor that causes crime. Instead, it's the accumulation of multiple risks. These risks fall into three main categories we'll be exploring: social environmental factors like poverty or antisocial peers, parental and family factors like inadequate parenting, and psychological factors like a lack of empathy or behavioral disorders. So how do these risk factors lead to criminal behavior? The most popular explanation is the Cumulative Risk Model. Think of it like stacking bricks on a scale. One brick might not tip the scale, but as you add more and more, the likelihood of it tipping over increases dramatically. This model predicts that the greater the number of risk factors a child experiences, the greater their chances of developing behavioral problems and cognitive deficits. The sheer number of different risks is what matters most. A slightly different but related idea is the Developmental Cascade Model. While the cumulative model is additive, just piling risks up, the Cascade Model is interactive. Think of it like a snowball rolling downhill or a series of dominoes. Here, a risk factor in one area of life triggers a chain reaction. For example, a child with poor academic skills might get rejected by their peers. That peer rejection could then lead them to associate with other antisocial youths, which in turn increases their chances of engaging in delinquent behavior. One problem cascades into another, getting more serious over time. This table does a great job of summarizing the key differences. The cumulative risk model is additive. It just adds up the risks. The developmental cascade model is interactive. It looks at how risks trigger and worsen one another over time. The cascade model also places a strong emphasis on how positive factors can interrupt this negative chain reaction. Let's look at our first category, social environmental risks. A major one is poverty. Now, it's crucial to understand that poverty itself doesn't cause crime. Rather, it's the conditions often associated with it, like discrimination, under-resourced schools, and unsafe living conditions, that contribute to risk. Another huge factor is the influence of antisocial peers, which we'll see is one of the strongest predictors of delinquency. The social environment in early life is also critical. A lack of high-quality preschool experiences can set a child on a negative path. But even more powerful is peer rejection. Being rejected by peers in early grade school is one of the strongest predictors of later antisocial behavior. It denies children the opportunity to learn crucial social skills and can push them toward other rejected, often aggressive kids. Moving on to the family, inadequate or faulty parenting is a significant risk factor. This can include a lack of warmth, inconsistent discipline, or monitoring. Sibling influence also plays a role. Having an older sibling who is involved in crime can normalize that behavior for a younger child. One of the most important family-related factors is attachment. According to John Bowlby's famous attachment theory, the quality of the bond between an infant and their primary caregiver is crucial for all future relationships. A secure attachment where a child feels safe and cared for acts as a powerful protective factor. In contrast, an insecure or anxious attachment where that bond is weak or unpredictable is a serious risk factor for developing behavioral problems. Now let's turn to psychological risk factors. First is a lack of empathy. Empathy has two dimensions. Effective empathy is the ability to feel what another person is feeling. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand another person's perspective. Deficits in either area can make it easier to harm others without feeling remorse. Similarly, language deficiencies are a risk factor. Language is a key tool for self-control and emotional regulation. If you can't talk yourself through a challenging situation, you're more likely to act out impulsively. What about intelligence? Research shows a clear inverse relationship between IQ scores and delinquency. While most offenders are not intellectually disabled, a very low IQ is a serious concern. It's estimated that at least 4% of the US prison population has an intellectual disability, an irreversible cognitive impairment that makes it difficult to navigate the world and understand consequences. Next is ADHD. ADHD is characterized by inattention, impulsivity, and excessive motor activity. It's largely a disorder of self-control related to brain functioning. A boy with untreated ADHD is at a significantly increased risk for delinquency, often because his impulsivity leads to aggressive reactions to frustration. It's estimated to affect a staggering 11% of school-age children in the US. Finally, we have two other disruptive behavior disorders. Conduct disorder, or CD, is a more serious condition characterized by a persistent pattern of misbehavior, like aggression toward people and animals, destruction of property, and serious violations of rules. It's often preceded by oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD, which involves a pattern of angry, irritable moods, argumentative behavior, and vindictiveness. Both are significant stepping stones on the path to more serious criminal behavior. And that brings us to the end of our exploration of developmental risk factors. As we've seen, there is no single cause of crime. Instead, it's a complex interplay of social, familial, and psychological factors that accumulate and interact over a person's life. Understanding these pathways is the first step toward effective crime prevention. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for our next lecture, where we'll dive into the biological factors of crime. We'll see you in the next video.